Welcome to episode 31 of the Worship Online podcast. And you have the whole crew here today.
Yes, Shayla's back.
Libby, I'm back. Yay.
Yeah.
Don't cheer Sue so soon because our subject today is deep. I just ruined the whole vibe. I'm just kidding. No, we're talking about escaping burnout. So if you ever felt burned out, felt a little deflated through your time as serving or being on a worship team or anywhere in church, this is the episode for you. And we're going to talk about that because I think we've all kind of been there.
Definitely.
So, roll the intro.
All right, today we're talking about escaping burnout. And I think all of us can probably attest to a season in life where we felt, just a little bit burnout.
Yeah.
And it's great to have the whole crew here because I think it's something that everybody kind of experiences. And there's kind of different phases to this. So there's the pre-burnout stage where you're kind of feeling a little bit tired. Then there's the far gone burnout on the team. And then I'd say that there's a step further, which we were talking about off camera, which is burnout from church entirely, which may be a little late in the game.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah. But it happens. It really does. It can happen.
Yeah.
And I think there's a lot of factors at play. There's leadership. There's personal things that we have to kind of walk through and think through and process. And so we're just going to open up that conversation today because I think that there's a lot of people watching from all different walks of life on teams. Maybe you've just started in on a team, or maybe you're still learning and you're part of Worship Online, maybe wanting to be a part of a team, or maybe you've been doing this for years and you're a leader and you have a team. And we're going to talk to, I think, all of those different places today. So let's just dive right in. We're talking about escaping burnout.
Yeah.
So it kind of starts, I think the solution applies to no matter what stage you're in. But the realities are, if you've been in church a while and you've been playing on a team a while, it's very easy to go down that road and eventually burn out, which starts by kind of overworking.
Yeah.
I guess a little bit.
I like that you kind of broke it down in the three different areas, because I think the first one, it's it's normal, it's fine, everyone's gonna get tired at some point, and that there's nothing wrong with that. Everyone who has a job, and there's gonna be times where you just get a little bit tired, but it's not enough to not keep you going. That's all normal. So I feel there's no reason for anyone on a worship team to ever feel guilty if you ever just wake up on Sunday morning, your alarm goes off at 6 a.m. and you just for a second feel oh, I really don't want to get up this morning. That's okay. All that's normal stuff. So everyone's gonna feel that way, but I think we want to get into the kind of the 2 and 3 parts of not getting burned out, right?
Yeah, for sure. I think that as a leader, it's you play with those thoughts in your head a little bit. There's the dread of having to show up again and do it over and over and over again. And there's a lot of churches where there's just events all the time. I mean, I've been in some churches where you look at their team and you wonder how the heck they're thriving because it's just, you had an event last month, then you had 2 events last week, and you've got 1 this week, and now you've got 4 coming up that you're planning for 8 months at a time. How in the world do you recover? How do you process? And rest is such a huge part of this. And so we have to kind of diffuse a few things, because for a while we talked about saying yes to everything, every opportunity. Get involved, say yes, be a part, because you find freedom in being a part of the team. But it can get to a point where it's a little much. And I want to kind of dialogue about that a little bit. When is too much too much? When is there kind of a place where do you start saying no? And so I want to talk about that a bit.
I think as leaders, we get caught up in the band has to sound great, especially worship leaders. Worship leaders, the band has to sound great. Oh, how are my people doing here? But one of the things that often gets forgotten is also that's just as important. How do I keep my volunteers from being burned out? That's a huge thing. I know that I've been there. I went to a church when I was younger that we had 2 staff members in the entire church, and it was volunteer go, and we were there every week from morning to night, almost every day volunteer. And I personally got to a point, as I know a couple of other people did, that where I just felt a little bit burnt out. I was just man, I don't even want to be here right now. That could be a lot of things. It could be the leadership, but I think it was also a mix of my personal life and just different things like that. And I even went to the leader and told him that, and he actually told me, he actually told me, he's like, admit that my relationship with God was struggling because I was being burnt out. So like, I know it's kind of a tough place. And then you get into this place, well, now I'm a little bit hurt because he said that. And like, I felt like my relationship was good, but is it not good? You know, kind of thing. So it's like, it's such a place that is just as important for leaders to create this atmosphere that keeps their volunteers from being burnt out. And I love what you said about rest, because I can think of a few churches right now that have this idea in their ingrained in their culture, this idea of their culture of rest. And so they make sure that their volunteers are resting and the people on their staff are resting. It's not, hey, did you take off get some rest this time or whatever. They're forced to. Like, oh, you have to take this much time off, because even if you are feeling inspired and still wanting to go every day, that nope, you need to take a break, because we know. And those typically end up being like such like healthy organizations. Like they're so healthy, they're growing, they're thriving. People want to work there. Everyone wants to work there because everyone's feeling energized and rest and renewed. And that's something that I really, really love, because I know how important rest is in my personal life. It's like, I know a lot of people do like huge things in their life, and I don't think they do that in spite of resting. They're able to get to that place in their life because they rested.
So true.
And so that just shows how important rest is.
You know, I think what's wild to think about, and I just want to diffuse that idea of the whole leadership thing, because it can become manipulative and controlling sometimes, which is not the heart of God in any way. If you are a volunteer, or if you're a worship leader of a volunteer environment, or you're overseeing a bunch of volunteers, you have to ask yourself about their involvement in your team. Obviously you want them to thrive as a person, and being a part of the community, being part of the church brings joy and energy and excitement. But the moment that you can tell that it's starting, you've over rostered them, or you've done a lot of events, and you can tell, like, you can start to kind of see that a little bit. How's their time with their family? How's their time as a husband or a wife or as a parent? If someone comes to you ever, in my opinion, if someone comes to you ever and is like, hey, I really just need to take a night off and spend it with my wife or be with my kids. Yes, every time. You know, because at the end of the day, that's our ultimate responsibility as followers of God. It's our first and foremost responsibility that God's given us is our families. I just had a baby. She's 8 weeks old, and I'm like, it puts things into perspective really quickly when you understand what the important things are, because that shows you no amount of work, hustle, ministry, even it compares with the calling God has on me as a husband and as a father. Like, those are my ultimate responsibilities and the things that will last beyond my lifetime. And so how I handle that is important. So as a leader, I have to look at that. And look, I've been a pastor when I was 21 years old, and had to like have these like rough conversations with I need you to show up if you're on the roster. And I get it, but I think that there's that understanding of when you're dealing with volunteers, their life is more important than that position. Person over position every time. And if it's not structured that way, now obviously that can't just be a blanket statement. I understand if I just say that, then you could take that and run with it. Well, Brenton sat on the Worst Online podcast.
I needed to not.
I need to say no all the time in order to be blessed. Well, listen, if you're part of a team and a part of a community, there's going to be a very good understanding of your best interest as a husband or a father, or you want to go to your daughter's baseball game, it happens to fall on rehearsal night. Like, those things are going to come up from time to time, and being understanding and ebb and flow with that is really important, I think, as you're building a community, because the end game is not for Sunday to go perfectly. The end game is to have a healthy environment for people to encounter God, and that's going to come with having to shift some things, and it might take a little extra work on the leader's part. You might have to stay an extra 15 minutes and find another bass player for that week, but it's so worth it for them to be able to have the night off. Or it might mean you have to step in as a leader and serve because they couldn't. You got to play bass, you can't lead worship this week, but it's so important, I think, for being able to step into that rest season or take a night off every once in a while. It's not a heart issue. You're just placing a priority on rest, and leaders oftentimes don't know. You've got 100 people you're trying to handle. You don't know when people are rostered, not rostered. Like, speak up if you need to rest. I think that's a big one.
That's really good. And I think exactly what you were saying, Brent. Like, it's about responding in love and not fear. Because I know when I was in that position, someone would say like, oh, by the way, I can't play like this Sunday. I was like, oh no, you're our only drummer. Like, what am I going to do? I can't find another drummer. And immediately I was just started to worry rather than just being like, you know what? No, I'm going to respond in love and trust that, like, if I invest in you as a person, like, God's going to bring this back around and our team's going to be fine, and not responding out of worry or fear. I mean, that's not the kingdom of God anyway. So yeah, I know that was my personal weakness for sure.
Wow.
And you don't want someone there that doesn't want to be there that week anyway, because if you like really push someone like, no, we really need you, to be there, and they show up reluctantly, that's probably going to be their last week.
They're going to be bitter, yeah.
That's going to be their last week.
They enter that third stage.
They're slowly going to be leaving. So let's just give them a break, man. Like, that way they come back renewed and refreshed. I remember one time that I was in a staff position at a church, and I was like extremely sick, like really bad sick, and I called like my boss, was just like the youth pastor, and I was like, hey, man, I cannot. We had like a weekend trip with the youth. I was like, I know we've been playing this, but I'm super sick. I don't know, like, I can't come. And like, his response was like, I need you, like, come anyway. You can just sleep on the bus. Like, it was the opposite of him giving a crap about me. You know what I mean? Like, you just sensed it. Like, he did not care about me and like as a person. And like, from that moment on, like, my position there didn't last very long because I didn't feel loved. I didn't feel respected. I felt like I slowly like made a transition out. I was a little reluctant to be there. I didn't, and I know. So from that moment on, like in my life, when I like deal with volunteers or like people, like I'm just like, it's all love. Show love. Like, love them. If they're sick, take it off. Take as much time as you need. Like, I want, more importantly, you as a person to, like, to feel good and feel loved. Like you said, like, person over position always.
There's freedom in that. And I think, like, it's God's church. He's going to take care of it. Like, it's not your responsibility to have a perfect worship team all the time. But I think as a volunteer, like, speaking to the volunteers too, I think it's important, like, and this, every worship leader who's listening to this who has to do the roster is going to love me. But if you use Planning Center, use the block out requests and plan out rest nights. Like, if you're like, you're looking a couple months ahead, like, plan out a couple, like, if you've got rehearsal nights or services and you know they're like going to be coming down the pike and getting rostered, like, just put on there, like, you want to take some time off. Like, put on a week where you're not available. You might be at home, you might not be on vacation, but like, just take time off. Plan rest days, plan nights where you're with your family or with your, kids. And I think that if you can do that ultimately helps, because you're able to kind of be organized. But when you've reached that point of burnout, or you're almost there, you're far surpassed, be sure to communicate, open up and explain. And if you get whiplash because you have a heart issue, then email us, because we're going to give you love and encouragement, because that's what you need more than a challenged heart. But I think that ultimately it's looking inside and going, man, I love being a part of this team. I love being a part of this community, but it's important that we all get rest. It's important that we all take time and just step away, whether it's vacation or just taking a night off and chilling out, eating ice cream on the couch, hanging out with your fam, watching TV. Like, we all think about those things, but then we get too busy and don't do them. But they're important. They're important to chill out, and so anyways, if you're experiencing that, really make that extra effort in creating time to rest.
I think another way that people get, besides not having rest, is them not feeling like they're a part of something. Like, they kind of get in this position where they're just there a week, they go home, they don't talk to anybody, they go a week. And so, like, grabbing coffee with your volunteers, having team nights like we've talked about before, little things like that to make them feel like they are a part of something, like, and they're passionate about it, and they have everyone's encouraging each other. Like, you show up as you're actually building something bigger than yourself, and I think that's a huge thing too. Is like getting everyone involved as a leader. Just like text them, go grab coffee, go do something with them, because if you're just doing something and like just to do it, like, it's gonna get old.
Libby mentioned this in like one of the last episodes about the enemy coming to steal, kill, and destroy. And destroy was about relationships, and the enemy wants to come and destroy relationships. Well, it's a lot easier for him to do that if there aren't any relationships to begin with.
That's so true.
So if you can develop the relationships within your team, it's so crucial. We've talked about that time and time and time again. If you have a culture problem, then take a look in the mirror first and go, do I really care about these people? Can I pastor them? Can we take time to just just chill out before rehearsal
Yeah.
and hey, how's it going? Let's like hang out. Went to a prayer thing this morning that was kind of cool because we started 10-15 minutes late, but you could just see all these dudes like networking and
Cool.
talking
Yeah.
and hanging out.
That's
Like
cool.
that's
Yeah.
almost more important than the things we have planned sometimes, you know, and because they're able to connect together and get coffee later
Yeah.
and whatever. So those relationships are so crucial. And when you feel like you're a part of something, it's a lot harder to get burned out,
Yeah.
even though you still need to rest. And then there's, I think, the step further of FOMO, like fear of missing out.
yeah.
You know, it's like, now I am part of this and
Yeah.
this is part of my family, but
Yeah.
I need a night off, but I really want to be there. I fight that sometimes
Yeah.
because I love being a part of our team and I'm involved in different areas on the team and it's hard to say no sometimes, but I'm like, man, you know what? I need to spend time with my family tonight,
Yes.
or I need to just rest because I've been busy working or
Yeah.
doing these things. Like, it's so important to make sure that you prioritize that
Yeah.
for your health, for your
Yeah.
sanity, and for
That's
your
right.
team, because
Yeah.
you don't want to be burnt out on the team either. For sure.
That's so
Absolutely.
true.
I didn't mean to interrupt you if I did. by the way.
Oh, no, that was great. I was just going to say, God did it first. I mean, he was the first one. Take a day off, rested.
True.
So
That's right.
I think
Take it by
it
example.
must mean something.
Right.
So
Yeah.
Because
So
we're talking
good.
about like the conversation always of how do we get new band members? How do we get new? Well, now we're talking about how do you actually keep the ones
Oh, yep.
when you
Yes,
actually get them? Because
that's
that
good.
might even be harder than getting
Yeah, it's
new
so
ones.
true. So true. So true.
so good.
Yeah, so awesome. Well, we'd love to hear your thoughts. You know, if you've got questions, this is obviously a big topic, and every case looks different. We've all walked through seasons of burnout. We've all walked through situations with our teams and with our leaders that maybe weren't so hot. And it you kind of do have to take it case by case. And I'm not opening this up to be like a pastoral session where we're like
Right.
sitting down and going through a, you know, psychology
Yeah.
deal. But I just would,
Yeah.
or whatever it's called.
Theology.
But what am I saying?
I don't know.
we aren't your therapists, but
Britton
we
needs
will
a
like to
break.
help. We're also not the experts, by the way,
True.
but we definitely want to help, and we just want to spark the conversation. So if you have anything that you're walking through, or questions or ideas, things that you're like, yeah, this worked and it helped me with my burnout, or book recommendations, podcasts, I mean, like things that are helping you really think this stuff through, hit us up. We'd love to hear about it, because I think any way we can help each other with this is massive. So shoot that over to us and we'll be there for you. Worship.online.com/podcast. See you guys.
See ya.